Assalamu alaikum, dear students of first year. My name is Shadi Shakil and I'm going to teach you lesson unit 21 of your textbook. It is a poem. It is called Road Not Taken. The Road Not Taken, and it is written by Robert Frost. Robert Lee Frost was an American poet. He is well known for his realistic writings of rural life and his use of American informal speech and his poetry about ordinary people in everyday situations. He was honored often during his lifetime, receiving 4 Pulitzer Prizes for poetry. These are the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry. Robert Frost was born in 1874 and died in 1963 at the age of 88. About the poem. Written in 1915 in England, The Road Not Taken is one of Robert Frost's and the world's most well-known poems. Although commonly taken as a celebration of poet's stark individualism, the poet actually conveys multiple meanings. The speaker in the poem, having to come to a forked road, takes the road less traveled, a decision which he or she supposes made all the difference. However, Frost creates enough subtle ambiguity in the poem that it's unclear whether the speaker's judgment should be taken at face value, and therefore whether the poem is about the speaker making a simple but impactful choice, or about how the speaker interprets a choice whose impact is unclear. The Road Not Taken having a perfect rhyme scheme, A, B, A, B, A, C, D, C, C, D, E, F, E, E, F, G, H, G, G, H. This poem was published in 1961 as the first poem in the collection Mountain Interval. Robert Frost wrote this poem for his friend Edward Thomas as a joke. He considers it a very tricky poem. The Road Not Taken is also a nostalgic commentary on life choices. This poem is about life from the perspective of a young narrator who decides to seize the day and as an individual chooses the road less traveled by. The expression of doubt runs in the poem from the first line until the last. The expression of uncertainty about choices and our natural tendency to surmise the consequences we may have to face marks the central point of the poem. However, what stays in the mind of the people is the philosophy of life and the dilemma of making choices. The Road Not Taken paraphrase, line 1 to 5. The speaker walking through a forest whose leaves have turned yellow in autumn comes to a fork in the road, the speaker regretting that he or she is unable to travel by both roads, since he or she is, after all, just one person, stands at the fork in the road for a long time and tries to see where one of their paths leads. However, the speaker can't see very far because the forest is dense and the road is not straight. Line 6 to 10. The speaker takes the other path, judging it to be just as good a choice as the first, and supposing that it may even be the better option of the two, since it is grassy and looks less worn than the other path. Though now the speaker has actually walked on the second road, he or she thinks that in reality the 2 roads must have been more or less equally worn in. Lines 11 to 15. Reinforcing the statement, the speaker recalls that both roads were covered in leaves which had not yet been turned black by foot traffic. The speaker exclaims that he or she is in fact just saving the first road and will travel it at a later date, but then immediately contradicts himself or herself with acknowledgement that in a life one road tends to lead onward to another, so it's therefore unlikely that he or she will ever eventually actually get a chance to return to the first road. Lines 16 to 20. The speaker imagines him or herself in the distant future, recounting with a sigh the story of making the choice of which road to take. Speaking as though looking back on his or her life from the future, the speaker states that he or she was faced with a choice between two roads and chose to take the road that was less traveled, and the consequences of that decision have made all the difference in his or her life. Now, the road not taken, what are the themes? There is one theme of choices and uncertainty. In the road not taken, the speaker describes facing a choice between which of two roads to take. The speaker's choice functions as an extended metaphor for all the choices that a speaker and all people must make in life. The poem makes clear that every choice involves the loss of opportunity and that choices are painful, but they must be made with incomplete information. The speaker tries to gather as much information as possible by looking down one road as far as I could, but there is a limit to what the speaker can see, as the road is bent, meaning that it curves, leaving the rest of it out of sight. So the speaker, like anyone faced with a choice, must make a choice, but can't know enough to be sure which choice is the right one. The speaker, as a result, is paralyzed. Long I stood, contemplating which road to choose. The second theme is of individualism and non-conformity. So here the speaker is faced with a choice between two roads and elects to travel by the one that appears to be slightly less worn. The diverging roads may be read as being an extended metaphor for two kinds of life choices in general, the conventional versus the unconventional. So by choosing the less traveled path over the well-traveled path, the speaker suggests that he or she values individualism over conformity. So non-conformity here is a positive trait and even implies that popularity can make things less appealing. The poem subtly questions its own final line, in which the speaker asserts that choosing the road he or she did actually take has made all the difference. Many readers interpret this final line as being an affirmation of the speaker's decision to venture off the beaten path. The poem is also an extended metaphor. Why? In which the tenor or the thing being spoken about is never stated explicitly. But it's clear that the poet is using the road less traveled as a metaphor for leading an unconventional way of life. The entire poem, then, is an extended metaphor in which the fork in the road represents all of the many choices one faces in life. As with all extended metaphors, this one contains many smaller metaphors inside. The bend in the road, described in line 5, may be read as a metaphor for people's inability to comprehend the consequences of their decision before they make them. The writer's realization that despite his or her initial expressions, the two roads are in fact equally untraveled, line 9 to 12, may be interpreted within the context of the extended metaphor to mean that everyone's life is unique, no matter what path one chooses. Analysis of literary devices in the poem. The analysis of literary devices explains the hidden meaning of a literary text or a poem. The use of literary devices is intended to bring richness and clarity to the text with different meaning. Here it is filled with important undertones with the following literary devices. Irony. Irony isn't the idea that the roads have a multiple significance. Not only are they simply roads to travel on through the forest, but they also take on a secondary meaning of a choice in life. Then is metaphor. There are many metaphors in the poem like road, fork in the road, and yellow woods. The road in the poem is the metaphor of life, while the fork on the road, metaphorically, represents the choices we make to determine the course of our lives. Similarly, yellow woods are the metaphor of making decisions during the hard times of a person's life. These metaphors are used in the poem to emphasize the importance of different decisions we make in life in different situations and their impact on our lives. Imagery. Imagery is used to make the readers feel things through their five senses. The poet has used the images of sense of sights, such as images of the sense of sights, such as leaves, yellow woods. These images help suggest readers to actually perceive things they are reading. The image of the road helps readers to visualize the road, providing a navigation route to the traveler. Simile. A simile is a device used to compare things with familiar things, to let the readers know it easily. There is one simile used in the second stanza, such as just as fair. It shows how the poet has liked the road less taken to the easy way through life. Assonance. Assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds, such as the sound of and o. And o in quick succession in through as far that the passing, and in somewhere ages and ages hence. Consonance. Consonance is the repetition of consonant sounds such as d in two roads diverging in a yellow wood, and d sound in though as far as the passing there. Personification. Robert Frost has personified road in the third line of the second stanza. Here it is stated because it was grassy and wanted wear, as if the road is human, and that it wants to wear and tear. Parallelism. Parallelism is the use of a source of words, phrases, or sentences that have similar grammatical forms. Frost has used parallelism in the poem, such as, "And sorry I could not travel both, and me only one traveller, long I stood, and looked down once as far as I could." Concluding the literary analysis, it can be argued that Robert Frost has beautifully used various literary devices to make the poem display multiplicity of interpretation, which has gained the poem much deserved popularity. Now the analysis of poetic devices. The poetic devices are part of literary devices. Some devices are only used in poems. Let's analyze the major poetic devices used in the poem. Stanza. Stanza is a poetic form of a fixed number of lines. Here there are 4 stanzas, with each stanza having 5 verses or lines. Quintain. A quintain is a 5-lined stanza borrowed from medieval French poetry. Here, each stanza is quintain, such as the first one or the second one. Rhyme scheme. The whole poem follows AAB rhyme scheme, thus called rhyming quintains of iambic tetrameter. So the poem has a pretty complicated form. 4 stanzas, 5 lines, each are quintains, and each quintain's rhyme scheme is AAB. For example, take the stanza. First stanza. Two roads diverge in a yellow wood, A. And sorry I could not travel both, B. And one traveller, long I stood, A. And looked down at one as far as I could, A. To where it bent in the undergrowth, B. There are 4 beats per line employing iambic tetrameter. So, tetrameter. 2 roads are diverged in a yellow wood. So there is a truche as well. That means there is one stressed and one unstressed syllable in a line, such as 2 roads diverge in a yellow wood. Then there is anapaests, and then there are question and answers which are given here. Why